global movement. It's an international movement. Why? Because we got human beings who are suffering, and sentient beings too. And sentient beings too. Unarmed truth at the same time is about unapologetic love. And love is about what? Steadfast commitment to the well-being of those, especially the weak and the vulnerable, especially those often called the least of these, the children, the widows, the elderly, the working peoples, the poor peoples, those Franz Fanon called the wretched of the earth, the people of colors who are suffering, the gay brothers and lesbian sisters who are suffering. And that's not PC chit-chat. It's a way of being in the world. It has everything to do with what John Coltrane called a love supreme. Oh, yes. And it requires what? It requires a systemic analysis of the suffering. Isn't it interesting now? Even Fox News has to talk about predatory capitalism. Isn't that interesting? Vulture capitalism. Vampire capitalism. And we say, you don't say. How you think 1% of the population has 41% of the wealth? How do you think the top 400 individuals have wealth equivalent to the bottom 150 million? You think that's based on meritocratic criteria? Got it. No, you got a system in place that allows benefits to remain hemorrhaged at the top, wealth hemorrhaged at the top. Poor people and working people attacked, insulted, assaulted by both those structures and policies, and the role of big money facilitated by the Supreme Court, but already in place, just expedited by the Supreme Court, that make it difficult for precious and priceless poor people of all colors, working people of all colors, not to have their voices have weight and gravitas in shaping the decisions and institutions that guide their lives. That's called oligarchy. That's called plutocracy. So that all the talk about democracy in so many ways is preserved by the Occupy movement. If you really want to see democracy in action, where the voices of everyday people are actually raised in the face of oligarchic power, people are going to have to turn 100 years from now to the Occupy movement, 50 years from now to the Occupy movement. But I can't wait until March and April and May, when things get a little more warm in New York and Chicago and Detroit and Baltimore and Washington. Now, you all already got sunshine all year. I know that. I'm down in Florida. And we are so inspired by what you're doing here in Tallahassee in Florida. But it is true that in Detroit, with my dear brother Worlington, now give Brother Worlington a hand, my dear brother. God bless his whole family too. But it gets minus 20 degrees. That is a challenge, man. It's minus 20 degrees. That's serious. But let's be very clear about it, that the Occupy movement already has a major victory in pushing the public conversation toward truth and justice and love. It's true. You have to talk about corporate greed now, even on the corporate mainstream media. You have to talk about wealth inequality now. You all know about Tavis Smiley and myself and the poverty tour, and the discourse, the poverty discourse, the C-SPAN. We got a poverty manifesto coming out in April, so that the legacy of Martin King more and more is connected to the legacy of the trade union movement, the legacy of young people who are engaged in a magnificent democratic awakening, the legacy of the feminist movement, the legacy of the anti-homophobic movement, the legacy of all those of goodwill concerned about democracy in an oligarchic moment. And it's very difficult for some people to talk about this during this election campaign, because we got such truncated options, don't we? It's true. I try to watch the debate among the Republican brothers. And even as a Christian, I grab my cognac. Oh, I need it. I'm going crazy. Sometimes you need cognac in the name of Jesus. Because they're so cold-hearted when it comes to what they have to say about poor people. Demonize poor people. criminalize and he talk about poverty. Quite explicit about their defense of the well-to-do at the top. You say, my God, my God. Every once in a while, Ron Paul says something about the American empire, and I kind of look up, says, he say empire? Wow, somebody's got a sense that we got over 1,000 military branches around the world. Somebody has a sense that we got a ship in every ocean. Somebody's got a sense that drones are dropping bombs on innocent people in Yemen and Pakistan. They just escalated again after a halt. Somebody's got a sense of what's going on. There's other human beings out there in the world. You say, but you don't say, Brother Ron. And then the next moment he wants to talk about free markets. I say, oh my God. Oh my God, how magnificent free markets. Back to idol worship again. Here's the free market fundamentalism all over again. Come on, Brother Ron. Spend a little more time with the Occupy movement. Learn something. And I, as you know, with Brother Ralph Nader and others, we wanted a debate among the Democrats during the primary season. We got trashed. Oh my God. We had death threats and everything else coming at us. Oh, Lord, you want somebody to debate Brother Barack Obama? Yeah, you don't say, yeah. We had a 96-year-old brother who founded a labor monthly in the 1930s, was the only one to volunteer to debate Obama. Because everybody else scared. Scared. I would have done it, but I don't want to run for president. Shoot. No. I'm running from the police and a lot of other things, but I'm not called to run for president. I'm a free man. Oh, I don't want to run the empire. I want to bring it down. Oh, yeah. Lord, that's true. Now, I do believe that there are such a thing as progressive politicians. I like Bernie Sanders. He said some very important things. I like Brother Steve Cohen from Memphis. He says certain things. Sister Maxine Waters, she can hit it sometimes. Keith Ellis, our Muslim brother from Minnesota, from the Progressive Caucus, he says some decent things sometimes. But one has to decide what one's calling is. If you want to speak an unarmed truth, then you would the Occupy movement. Then you would folk who are willing to stretch out and engage in systemic analysis. It's not just short term, but it's to be a long distance freedom fighter. And that's what's so magnificent about the young brothers and sisters of all colors. Because you all are not sprinters, you're in it for the long run. Is that right, young folk? You all in it for the long run? In it for the long run! That's it. 'Cause I'm almost 60 years old myself. Almost 60. I can remember when I was 18 and we shut down the city of Sacramento. Woo! Shut it down for the same issues that we're talking about today. We were highlighting the legacy of white supremacy and the vicious legacy of white supremacy in Sacramento at that time, but we were always connected to what was going on with working people. We're already connected to the need for sisters of all colors to break out of the patriarchal impositions. We were already connected to our gay brothers and lesbian sisters. Huey Newton had written an essay on homosexuality and people's liberation in 1968 from the jail. Say, oh, Black Panthers talking about gay brothers? Yeah, they love James Baldwin. They love Tennessee Williams. Talking about gay, yes, they love Muriel Rukeyser, the great poet, lesbian poet. They already were in contact in the late 60s. Their primary focus was the legacy of white supremacy, rightly so. If you're black and brown and red, you're going to have to hit that issue head on just to be able to breathe. But at the same time, you're universal. You're concerned with what's going on in every community, no matter what color, just like we're concerned about what's going on in every culture. In every nation as well. And so I just wanted to come by, and you all so deeply inspire me. I got this thing at Florida State tonight. We're going to talk about Brother Martin. And I think we want to be very clear that, we all know that they so deodorized Brother Martin, He's so sanitized that everybody loves him now. But if he were alive, the first place he'd come to in Tallahassee